Kia ora! Thinking about moving back to New Zealand and bringing your car with you? If you said yes, then this is the only video you need to watch to get the full rundown on shipping your car from Australia to New Zealand. Hi, my name is Melody from Will Ship International. With almost 20 years of experience, we've shipped tens of thousands of vehicles to New Zealand. With our track record and hundreds of 5-star reviews, we are now one of the highest rated freight forwarders in Australia. So as industry leaders, we know this process inside and out. Think of us as your go-to guide, here to walk you through every step and share our best tips along the way. Just an FYI, this video is geared towards people who are moving to New Zealand and looking to take their personal car with them. However, if you're looking to do a company transfer or you're looking to send a vehicle to New Zealand temporarily, then some of the information below will not apply, and we recommend contacting us directly to discuss your situation. In this video today, we'll cover each stage of the process in detail, including how to ensure your vehicle is eligible for compliance and registration in New Zealand, understanding your total costs, including whether you qualify for a New Zealand import GST exemption, how the shipping process works from start to finish, including what happens when your vehicle arrives in New Zealand, including biosecurity inspections and compliance, the documents required for customs clearance, GST exemption and compliance. And finally, we'll go through how to prepare your vehicle for shipping and how to meet biosecurity requirements. Let's get started. Ensuring your vehicle can be complied and registered in New Zealand. Before shipping a vehicle, it's essential to confirm whether it meets New Zealand's strict compliance regulations. Not all vehicles can be complied and registered for road use in New Zealand, so it's crucial to do your research up front. We'll break the following information down into 3 categories: vehicles more than 20 years old, vehicles older than 2016 but newer than 20 years old, and vehicles manufactured after 2016. So, to start, if your vehicle is older than 20 years old, then it can be complied under the 20-year import rule, which means it's not subject to the rigorous compliance standards that newer vehicles are subject to, and it should be relatively easy to gain compliance and registration. It is important to note, however, that the vehicle still needs to comply with the general safety requirements set by the NZ Transport Department. For example, no heavy rust or no prior significant accident damage. Next up is vehicles older than 2016 but newer than 20 years old. As of filming this video in 2025, this would mean vehicles manufactured between 2005 and 2016. These vehicles typically don't meet the required Euro 5 emission standards as required by NZ law, and therefore will be unable to be complied or registered unless you meet the criteria for what's called an immigrant's exemption. An immigrant's exemption allows you to bypass the normal rules if you can meet certain criteria. Essentially, if you've owned and used the vehicle in Australia for more than 12 months, you're immigrating to New Zealand to live permanently, you have lived outside of New Zealand for at least the last 21 months consecutively, then it's likely that you meet the criteria to qualify for the immigrant's exemption. The criteria for the immigrant's exemption is more or less the same as the import GST exemption, meaning it is easier and cheaper to send your car across the Tasman. Lastly, we have vehicles manufactured after 2016. In short, most vehicles manufactured after 2016 should meet all necessary compliance and emissions requirements without issue and without the immigrant's exemption, although these cars will still need to meet the normal general safety requirements. New Zealand's regulations are some of the strictest in the world when it comes to vehicle safety, and compliance inspectors will closely examine every vehicle upon arrival. To avoid any issues or any unexpected costs, we strongly recommend that you reach out to a New Zealand compliance facility before shipping to confirm that your vehicle meets all necessary requirements. We can provide you with contact details for our compliance partners in New Zealand who can check and verify whether your vehicle will pass compliance before you commit to shipping. Understanding your total costs. So, how much does it actually cost to ship your car from Australia to New Zealand? Hint, it's more than just the freight costs. There are other costs like compliance checks, registration, transit insurance, and even cleaning and cargo preparation that you'll need to factor in. The total cost will depend on your personal circumstances. Shipping rates vary depending on the method of shipping you wish to use. Roll-on, roll-off shipping is generally the cheapest, fastest, and most popular shipping method. This is where the vehicle is driven onto the vessel and lashed to the deck. Think of these like giant underground floating car parks. These vehicles are not exposed to the elements in any way, and they are safe and protected for their journey across to New Zealand. The other shipping method available is container shipping, which allows you to include personal items inside the vehicle. Now, on top of the freight, you'll need to factor in New Zealand's import GST, which is charged at 15% of the landed value of the vehicle. This includes the purchase price, freight costs, and transit insurance. However, many people qualify for the New Zealand import GST exemption, meaning they pay no import GST at all. To qualify for the GST exemption, you must be a first-time immigrant or returning New Zealand citizen who has lived outside of New Zealand for at least 21 months consecutively. You must have owned and used the vehicle in your personal name for at least 12 months prior to handing the vehicle over for shipping and departing Australia. And you must physically be in New Zealand before the vehicle arrives. The vehicle also cannot have any outstanding finance and must not be sold for at least 2 years after import. Another cost to consider is transit insurance, which is optional but highly recommended. It covers your vehicle in the event of loss or damage during transit. The cost is usually 1.75% of the vehicle value and freight costs, with a minimum premium of 455 Australian dollars. You'll also need to budget for compliance checks and registration. Compliance typically costs between 800 and 1200 New Zealand dollars, while registration costs usually range from 130 to 300 New Zealand dollars per year. Additionally, under the New Zealand Clean Car Standard, vehicles that exceed certain CO2 emission targets may incur extra charges, while low emission vehicles may qualify for credits. These fees are payable directly to the NZTA and will need to be paid prior to the compliance process commencing in New Zealand. These can significantly affect your final cost, so it's important that you check your vehicle's Clean Car Standard fee prior to shipping. A list of these fees can be found on the NZTA website. We will also include a link in the emails we send you, and you can also watch our video about the Clean Car Standard on our YouTube channel. Now, let's run through a real-life example so you understand how to put all of this together. Let's say we have a client named Andy who's looking to ship his 2022 Isuzu D-Max from Brisbane to Auckland. Andy has owned and used the car personally in Australia for more than 12 months and is planning to move home to New Zealand as a returning resident. He meets all of the criteria required for the import GST exemption. Andy has obtained a quote via our website and decided that roll-on, roll-off shipping is the best method of shipping for him. He would like to opt to take out a transit insurance policy and has asked us to handle the compliance process for him. First up is shipping costs. The current door-to-door rate to ship a car between Brisbane and Auckland via roll-on, roll-off is 2,795 Australian dollars. Since he's eligible for the GST exemption, no import tax will apply in New Zealand. He opted to take out a transit insurance policy for 455 Australian dollars. He is also getting us to handle the compliance at a cost of 840 Australian dollars. We've checked the Clean Car Standard charge for this vehicle and it comes in at 783 New Zealand dollars. On top of that, we also have New Zealand's registration fees. Therefore, Andy's total costs are as follows. Shipping, 2,795 Australian dollars. Insurance, 455 Australian dollars. Compliance, 840 Australian dollars. Clean Car Standard, 783 New Zealand dollars, payable directly to the NZTA. New Zealand registration fees for 12 months, $135.84, again payable directly to the NZTA. Therefore, his total cost, once the currency exchange is factored in, should be right around 5,000 Australian dollars, inclusive of all costs, including 12 months registration in New Zealand. Of this, 4,090 Australian dollars is payable to Willship prior to shipping for the shipping, insurance and compliance charges, and around 918 New Zealand dollars is payable to the NZTA on arrival in New Zealand for the Clean Car Standard and vehicle registration. It's important to note that this pricing was correct at the time of filming in February 2025, and the pricing may have changed depending on when you're watching this. It's also important to note that when the pricing example is based on the vehicle passing its initial MPI biosecurity inspection on entry. The shipping process. Once you've confirmed that your vehicle will be okay for compliance and registration, and you've reviewed your personal circumstances and confirmed your total costs, the shipping process begins. If you want to ship via roll-on, roll-off, first, you'll need to select the specific sailing schedule you'd like to aim for. We publish the schedule on our website, which lists all of the available vessels. Once you've selected a vessel, we'll work with you to coordinate the delivery of the vehicle into the port via a security-cleared tow truck during the vessel's receival period. This receival period is generally 3 to 5 business days prior to the vessel departure date. Your vehicle will then be loaded onto a roll-on, roll-off vessel and secured to the inner deck. The transit time from the Australian East Coast ports to New Zealand is usually between 5 and 14 days, depending on the vessel routing. Shipments from Fremantle take a little longer, generally around 18 to 30 days, depending on the final destination. Once the vehicle arrives into New Zealand, the vehicle will be unloaded from the vessel and staged for inspection. A biosecurity officer will then inspect the vehicle, and if they don't find anything of biosecurity concern, it will be released and we are then able to move it into a vehicle compliance facility. It generally takes around 2 to 5 business days for the customs and biosecurity inspection process to be completed. If your vehicle does not pass its MPI biosecurity inspection, then it will need to undergo cleaning or treatment in line with what's been ordered by the biosecurity officer. The costs for treatment start at around 750 New Zealand dollars. Once it's been released from biosecurity and allowed entry into New Zealand, it will be moved into the compliance facility. The compliance process usually takes 3 to 5 business days, but may take longer if any repairs or modifications are needed. Once compliance is completed, you'll be able to register the vehicle and legally drive it in New Zealand. This is the documentation required. Shipping a vehicle internationally requires several key documents. If you're looking to apply for the GST exemption, we will need to provide New Zealand Customs with proof in the form of documentation that you meet all of the import GST exemption criteria. These include proof of purchase, a tax invoice or bill of sale for the vehicle. This will need to include the purchase date, purchase amount, vehicle details, seller and purchaser information. If you do not have your original purchase invoice and bought from a dealership, please contact them, as they may be able to send you through a copy. If the vehicle was purchased as a private sale, we will still need a bill of sale, although this can be a handwritten or typed up declaration signed by the seller. Proof of payment. New Zealand Customs want to see how you paid for your vehicle to ensure there is no money owing on it. If finance was taken out, we will need a copy of your payout letter or a confirmation from the finance company that this vehicle is paid in full. Alternatively, a PPSR report stating there is no security interest on the vehicle, or a copy of a bank transaction showing when the money left your account. With the bank transaction, the amounts paid must add up to the purchase price on your invoice or bill of sale. Proof of ownership. Registration documents or insurance documents dated more than 12 months old. This must have the name of the registered person and a full VIN number, year, make, and model of the vehicle. Original registration document. New Zealand compliance will need an original registration document. This can either be a registration renewal notice, which has been posted out to you, a stamped and signed registration document, or you can email this email address directly with a registration document that has been emailed to you from your state's Department of Transport. If you go with the paper option, you will need to keep this document with you to physically hand to the compliance team in New Zealand. High quality colour photo of your New Zealand or Australian passport or other passport with a visa. Please ensure the passport is signed and clearly shows your signature. New Zealand Customs number application completed, which we will provide you with. Booking agreement form. We will send this to you if you want to proceed with us. Bringing a motor vehicle into New Zealand as a private individual form. We will provide you with this as well. Copy of your flight ticket to New Zealand, or if you are in New Zealand, please let us know when you arrived. Photos of the vehicle. Photo of the odometer and ADR/VIN plate. This is only for New Zealand tax exemption purposes. I know this seems like a lot. In compiling these documents, we are essentially proving to New Zealand Customs that you meet all of the required criteria to allow for the GST exemption. If you don't have the exact documents we've mentioned above, don't worry, as there generally are some workarounds, so please just reach out to us. We're more than happy to help you. If you're not looking to claim the GST exemption or you do not meet the GST exemption criteria, then the documentation is much easier, as you don't need to prove you meet all of these exemption criteria to New Zealand government. We have included a link in the caption of this video with a list of all of these required documents. Cleaning and cargo preparation. Before shipping, it's critical to ensure that your vehicle is thoroughly cleaned inside and out. New Zealand has strict biosecurity regulations, and around 80% of vehicles fail their initial MPI inspection due to contamination. MPI officers will check for soil, seeds, insects, and other contaminants. We recommend trying not to spend too much money on the cleaning prior to shipping, as there's nothing you can do to guarantee a pass with New Zealand biosecurity. We generally recommend that you vacuum the interior, wash the undercarriage, engine bay, and wheel arches, and try to remove any organic material. This is what the biosecurity officer will be looking for. If your vehicle does fail its inspection, cleaning and treatment costs with biosecurity in New Zealand generally start around 750 New Zealand dollars and can go up from there depending on what's required. In the unfortunate event they find a live insect, then fumigation may be required, which then increases the potential cleaning costs to around 1,000 New Zealand dollars and upwards. Thanks for watching. Now you know exactly what you need to do to prepare your car before being shipped to New Zealand. If you found this video helpful, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe for more tips on shipping your vehicle from Australia to New Zealand.